Good morning. Welcome back to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. It is Friday, less formal Friday, and it is very cold. And we are here. It is Housing Day. It's Friday, and sorry, I'm just like
No. My mother is very prominent in the camera. So it's not.
So today is a housing day, and we're going to turn to different housing partners, our partners in our towns, where so much of this work is done. And so we are turning to Vermont League of Cities and Towns to talk about what their priorities are, how we can help further understand some of the barriers for towns opting into Tier 1A and 1B, which we are, because we're going to hope to be addressing that in other places. So take it away, Josh and Sam, we welcome you.
Great, thank you. So Josh Hanford, Director of Intergovernmental Relations at Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Samantha Sheehan, Municipal Policy and Advocacy Specialist, also for the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
And we do have a presentation to share with you.
Great.
I am going to just kick things off at a high level, and Samantha's going to run through more of the details. We're here to share with you our housing priorities. Some thoughts on the Act 181 implementation, specifically addressing some of the concerns we've heard about the Tier 1 areas and whether municipalities are opting in or not and what those constraints are, and show you some practical realities of the Tier 1A mapping process that is going on now, and sort of where we are in that process, because I think there's a little confusion of what actually is available to municipalities right now and what's not.
I'm usually much quicker on the draw, but
it's cold. We're all up to a slow start.
And forgive me if I'm wincing. I'm having a sciatic nerve attack on my left side, so I'm working it hard here to stay pleasant.
You could do like the figure 4. You know where you put your knee up?
Oh, I don't know that. I'm
Do you want my little
I'm gonna channel Sarah Copeland Handlets and do exercise.
Yeah. Well, I have to do on pregnancy.
Okay, this is
Take my bolster.
Okay.
No worries. I will just proceed.
Okay, just go.
So the first few slides, we want to move through rather quickly because we want to really get into the heart of this. We know you've been discussing a lot, but obviously we still have housing as a top priority from the league. Housing availability and affordability is a top issue when we survey our municipalities. And we really want to support the creation of housing that municipalities need, they've envisioned, they've planned for, and they allow in local zoning. There's been a lot of work for years on this. So
Not that you know anything about it.
nothing. So we have 7 priorities here. We don't, like I said, I don't want to spend a ton of time on them, but we continue to ask for sort of more authority around short-term rentals. I think it's people have learned we have quite a bit of authority to regulate. If you read the newspaper, what we don't have authority is to raise revenue to address those impacts and put it back in our community, other than the local 1% option tax on rooms and meals. So that's been a consistent ask for us.
Can we talk? I mean, how long do we have? We have to.
We sadly only have about a half an hour from now,
Okay.
but we will
We
return.
can come back.
And I'd
But-
love to.
come back
Yeah.
anytime.
And the short-term rental piece is, that's also a finance issue, and I think that is a big subject for this.
And you know that my other philosophy is that I'm not always. I think municipalities should absolutely regulate short-term rentals. My concern is vacancy, right? So I want to look at being able to raise fees on second homes that remain vacant, and being able to give certain amounts back to communities that have a high threshold of vacant homes year round. So anyway, I don't like, if you rent something for a month to somebody, that's still good.
Yeah.
It's like
And
good.
you're hitting
Yeah.
exactly on one of
Okay.
the issues that if the home is a second home anyways, it better have someone in
It
it,
is, right.
spending money in the
Exactly.
economy.
Exactly.
Given our time, let's
we-
keep moving, because I think this is a subject for us to return.
To add to our great success last year in CHIP, this is not part of CHIP, but some projects may be smaller scale, or if we had a tax stabilization, authority that was the statewide property tax. We could builders, developers could leverage that into their deals and pull off smaller deals in a easier way. There's a bill on the House side that's attempting to implement something this year around this, the rural housing
That's starting
initiative bill.
house.
Yes,
Yeah, speech 775.
Yes.
We could delegate that to the house.
exactly. So
So we
that's
support it and we'll come back in April.
And hopefully if it makes it, it'll come here.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, or a piece of it.
Yeah. We continue to hear the brownfield cleanup and redevelopment needing money for that. There are challenges with the timeline, no question, and I think the report that was put out unfortunately doesn't address a lot of those from DC. Despite the long, arduous process, it's still very popular, and if we want to do infill development in our urban areas, we need to clean them up. It's just a fact.
Thank you. So as you know, it was not in the governor's budget.
Yes.
So it is in our bill and we would love to have you, your advocacy for that at this very moment is helpful for that bill too.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I ask, so in this, you don't have the downtown and village tax credit?
We
we
support
support
those,
that.
but they're not in this very
Okay,
short
yeah.
list. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those, we,
Like,
and VHIP,
Yeah.
and VHIP
And
means
VHIP.
funding.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm hearing the downtown village tax credits, there'll be a lot of fighting over the areas that need to do strip repair versus want to do like
Mhm.
historic, and I just wish we could get out of that fight, like we should
And
give everyone.
we've also said, House General asked us to talk about our thoughts on what housing policies and programs have worked
Yeah.
over the last few years and which ones haven't.
Mm,
And in that testimony, we talked about the tax credit program.
yeah,
And we
And
talked
VHIP.
about VHIP, but specifically the tax credit program, the 1 year that they allowed for it to be used in neighborhood areas,
yeah,
we think should be returned.
Yes. Well, and it
yeah.
will be in the new designation.
So,
Well, I think this is a good conceptual bridge for the next part of our.
That's really this big gap between.
Yes.
3 and
Yeah.
4.
yes, so
Um,
the next part is what we're here to
yeah.
talk to you the most about. And
Uh-huh,
why don't I just turn it over, because we're gonna jump right into it. With these 4 areas will be further explained. Well, maybe we won't get into the agriculture unless you ask, but that's an issue as a
What's
result of the court case. The court case that changed the municipal zoning and agriculture dynamic that's been in place for
Cannabis.
30,
This is
40
our
years.
right.
Doc-
So we have to
Yeah.
react to that. There is legislation, but we don't plan to talk to you about that here
And
today.
if there's legislation moving on it, outside of this committee, we can either coordinate that if it's Senate discussion.
Your colleagues
We can,
right behind
Yeah.
you.
okay,
I will say, I think that one of the lessons from there is it's really hard to have separate regulations in municipalities for cannabis and for agriculture.
We're not talking about cannabis.
But I
but that.
really, whatever you propose, I'd like it to work for cannabis too, because agriculture went down with cannabis in this
That
this
was a
court
hand-
case, and I think we're gonna have to make the regulation work for both.
The simplest, as you can see, all we're asking for is in the areas that end up being activity exempt, the tier 1. Municipalities need to have standard regulations.
Yeah.
for all businesses, because who's calling balls and strikes? The state's no
Exactly.
longer dealing with land
Exactly.
use. Municipalities have to.
Right,
They want to treat all businesses, whether they be agriculture, cannabis, a
Right.
dry cleaner, a childcare center that are next door to each other on
Yeah.
tight lots, have to have fair regulations so they know how to invest their money and keep people
and you know,
safe.
the cannabis bill has letting municipalities do far more to regulate time, place, and manner of cannabis retailers as well,
Yeah.
because that's been a
Yeah.
big thing.
So let's talk about the Act 181 implementation, tier 1, tier 3, road rule. That's what the majority of our presentation's about. So
And I just want to underscore quickly before we move on that these investments that we're talking about, like the downtown tax credits, VHIP, brownfield, these are all housing programs that work and really work in already developed areas. So keep that in mind, because when we're talking about tier 1, we are talking about new housing and home construction in already developed areas, are already most densely populated
Right.
mixed use districts in the state. And so the alignment of those investments with the strategy created by Act 181 is really essential to move forward as we go into living under Act
Couldn't
21.
agree more, and they are, those two particular provisions, because they're also economic development,
Yes.
tools are in our economic development bill, so we accept your advocacy for those right now.
So quickly, before we dive
Oh, we
into,
252. Municipal.
it might be, we got a new one in Colchester, right?
Well, that's a village.
Yeah.
Counted in that. Yeah, this
Yeah.
counts Essex City.
Yeah.
Right.
So of our members, 73% have a population under 2,500. And most of those municipalities are governed primarily by volunteers or completely by volunteers. We have 200 municipalities with, I actually want to say, I got these figures maybe 4 months ago from DHCD. They are changing in real time as the regional plans move forward. But currently going into Act 181, we had 200 municipalities with an duly adopted municipal plan, 142 10-acre towns that had adopted zoning and permanent bylaw, and about 43 municipalities currently permitted to operate municipal water and sewer both.
So are we still at like 30-something% of municipalities don't have zoning and bylaws?
It's over 100. It's more than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay.
So like,
But that is evolving, and many that
Yeah.
have zoning but not subdivision bylaw
Right,
are
right.
working through that on
Okay.
their path.
I just want to make sure whatever we do about zoning this year, we're focused on helping those communities, not just like pronouncing something.
We
stuff.
do too.
Yeah, okay.
So, I also want to quickly, I know you know this, I think everyone worked on this bill in this room, but I'll remind you that Act 181 creates a location-based jurisdiction for the purpose of requiring Act 250 permit review or not. It creates 3 tiers, but really it's 4. And then there's a 5th location-based jurisdictional trigger, which is the road rule. So there's 1A, total Act 250 exemption for all types of development. 1B, partial exemption for housing up to 50 units. Tier 2, in theory, applies Act 250 as normal, including the 5510 rule. We do support a repeal of the 5510 rule.
That would be at least one good thing to do in tier 2. I need tier 2 to be useful and make sense and not just be like, why do we have?
In the context of the road rule, it becomes less and less rational. It's been
Right.
LCT's perspective for a long time
Yeah.
that the 5510 rule was not a rational application of jurisdiction. But in the context of the road rule, which takes effect in July, it's like, really, what are we doing?
Right.
So,
Do people understand that? Like, have we had?
I think
I have pictures.
rural caucus-
Okay.
yeah, so,
The rural caucus gets it, it's part of their bill.
Okay.
they don't have the 5510 rule in their bill.
They don't have the
Right.
repeal of that.
No.
But if that gets, it was taken up, and the good news is, it was taken up yesterday in House Natural.
So, and then we have tier 3,
Is
which
that-
is a new jurisdiction. Tier 3. The concept there is to protect development from happening in particular protected natural resources of the state. And then you have the road rule, which will take effect in July unless there's legislative intervention this session. And that says that all development 800 feet or more from a road or 2,000 feet of combined driveway and road would trigger full Act 250 permit review for that development. And again, before I move on, basically tier 1 is mapped by the RPCs over here. Tier 3 is mapped by the LURB, the state body and authority over here. Tier 2 is what's left, and the road rule applies everywhere except for 1A.
Or
Can we go back to road rule for a second?
Yes. Oops, sorry.
I'm trying to make sure I remember.
Oh,
Didn't we
I don't know what just happened. There we go.
say 800 feet versus like 1,200 feet?
2,000 of driveway plus road,
2,000.
which there's a lot. I'm gonna move on.
We're-
We have a
we're-
lot about the road rule.
Is there's
I got-
there's
we
a
got a
lot
lot
of
of
rules
shit
that
about that.
haven't
Like,
decided
yeah.
haven't come out.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in effect before maps for most of the state are out. There's a lot of reasons why these things haven't lined up.
I have not heard from a zoning administrator in the state that feels like they know what a road is.
As far as this
Right,
definition,
for applying this.
is
rule.
800 feet straight? Is
Versus
it
drive
this? Is it?
versus the
Yeah, is it straight? Because if you build 800 feet like this,
right.
it's not 800 feet like this. If you build
I'm writing this down.
if you build 800 feet
Yeah.
in this shape,
Mhm.
that's 800 feet is here, and then this
Mhm.
quickly becomes 2,000 feet. But this,
Mhm.
so
As you know, this is not technically our jurisdiction.
Right.
I think we're open to support thoughtful changes, but this we have to push really hard. And I assume you have also
I-
presented in natural.
not yet.
Yeah.
I am
will-
writing these too natural.
I will demonstrate why this would
Okay.
quickly become a concern of this committee. Here's one of the reasons. Act 250 creates the LRB. It directs and authorizes the LRB to do a lot of work, which they've been working really hard on.
Yeah.
One of the things that it authorizes and directs them to do is to define the word development.
I remember this.
So in tier 3, this new sweeping location-based jurisdiction where Act 250 will be applied, the LRB shall define what development is subject to Act 250 review. Currently, the draft rule, emphasis on draft, says improvements to existing home and structures that are larger than 200 square feet or more than 50 feet from the existing structure. Sheds, garages, ADUs, equipment sheds, decks.
We could go on.
You could go on and on.
Dog
Stuff. Yeah, could be a really nice dog house,
chicken hoops.
but it would not be a very nice garage that was 200 square feet, right? So construction of new wastewater treatment and drinking water systems, that includes septics and wells, which are of course permitted by the Department of Environmental Conservation. New homes and structures of all types, commercial, mixed use, affordable, single family, multifamily,
Septic. You said septic.
yeah, septics and wells.
Yeah, well, it's drinking water.
This is a big one for us. I mean, our members want homes to be built and improved and maintained. But also municipalities build roads and public utilities. So this would say that in the tier 3 area, which includes roads, I'll explain that soon. Improvements or construction of transportation facilities. It's actually now 10 feet, I think, in the most recent draft. So basically a rock line ditched along a municipal road could require an Act 250 permit if it's in a tier 3 habitat connector. And then trails, although we're expecting trails to be exempted in the new version of the draft based on the most recent discussions.
Question.
Yes,
Have you, I assume you have testified in front of the board as they were developing this draft.
we've
We've commented.
and Josh is on the tier 3 working group and we've provided comment, we provided a lot of comment.
Who's leading the tier 3 working group?
Alice Weinhagen,
Okay.
Yeah.
who's been responsive,
Yeah.
working
Oh, yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
His initial proposals were actually allowed a single family home to be built, but the rest of the
150.
commissioners moved it down to this 200 square feet. So like there's been a back and forth from the LRB, in their interpretation of what their mission is and what this legislation does that we think restricts them from making some common sense changes. And that's why we're asking for legislative intervention, which we'll get to.
So this is what we're asking for right now. And then I'm gonna get to the pictures. We are asking for a delay in the road rule in tier 3 jurisdiction. So the road rule would take effect this July, right? We want to push that out a year till after next session. And we also want the tier 3 rule to come to the legislature in the fall. And the tier 3 jurisdiction to not impact property owners until the following summer. And the reasons are to allow municipal bodies to see, understand, and plan for these new state jurisdictional areas while they're in the regional map process. To allow homeowners and landowners time to participate in the LRB process as they draft the rule. And to allow local zoning administrators time to align their guidance and instruction to prospective permit holders with those instructions and guidance coming from the LRB. And then to allow appropriate legislative oversight between the adoption of the rule and the time that takes effect on Vermonters, right? so that you can check next year, we can come back here a year from now and we can check, is the rule fulfilling the promise and opportunity of Act 181? So now keep in mind, I've got some maps to show you that I used all examples from the Rutland RPC, which is the first region in the queue before the LURB for their approval process. And keep in mind this slide of what is development, right? And
Right.
so pick in your mind what your
This is
favorite
just what
thing
is development in tier 3.
in tier 3.
Okay, so it's not what is development for like everything.
Mm-hmm. And so, but you know, picture something, a sugar shack,
Yeah,
in
no, no.
ADU,
Yeah.
right? A duplex. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm surprised Alex put forward just single family homes.
Anyway,
No,
So,
it's
like-
not.
I'm giving
Well,
our
he put it
time
forward to the LURB as just 11.
Well, he put forward a de minimis exemption based on square footage that
okay.
would have allowed for most
Would have allowed for
single family homes size.
word lot. Okay, thank you.
But that was reduced to 200 square. feet.
Right.
Right, right.
Okay, so I selected Pittsford. First of all, because it's lovely, and if you haven't done the drive from Middlebury to Rutland on Route 7 to Pittsburgh, you should, especially during foliage. It's also where the Vermont State Police Academy is, a place very important to municipal officials around the state. And then, but Pittsburgh has a lot of the stuff that should make Act 181 an opportunity for them.
Right.
So they have permanent planning and zoning and bylaw. They have municipal planning officials who are staff. They have a 5-person select board. They have other city departments and offices. They have water and sewer. And they had before, in the before times, a designated growth area.
They also have a police academy that needs upgrading.
Yeah.
Would that
Well,
all
I bet-
get stuck in Act 250?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So so Pittsburgh, super cool place. This is their map this is the first version of their map that they worked on with the RPC. And you can see I put a red asterisk to the 4 FLU types that should be tier 1B eligible. So there's like a pink donut in the middle. And then you can also, I'll point out also the orange kind of spur to the, what is directions that southeast. That would be their transitional area. And then that big violet grayish blotch, that's the police academy. That's the area where the police academy is located.
The huge one.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not taking up that whole area, but
No, it's not, but
They
they
have a
own
lot
all
of-
that land.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And they have a big parking lot they need to
Yeah.
upgrade to do training.
And stormwater,
Can you
Okay.
tell me who in Rutland County is the best witness?
Devon.
Devon Near.
Devon.
Devon Near. Okay.
Yeah. Who's been,
Yeah.
who's been the map lead and
Okay, so this is the map. Remember I said tier 1 happens over here with the RPC. Tier 3 happens over here with the LURB. And then the road rule is just going to happen. So this map shows the same land area of Pittsburgh. On the left of your screen is a model of the road rules.
Yeah.
So this is not exactly, although jurisdictional opinions could be involved for people who
Yeah.
want to develop here.
And the
But this is a model of where Act 250 regulation would be applied for development more than 800 feet from an existing road. And then on the right is the most recent draft map of the tier 3. So the green, like lime green splotchy stuff that looks like a mountain, that's the headwater stream. So those are very steep surfaces that slough off a lot of stormwater and rainwater, and like that's fine. We're not concerned about that. There is in Pittsburgh a tiny little bright pink dot. That is a significant natural community. So like an endangered species of some kind that is known and mapped. Also fine.
Right.
No problem.
There is a question about using the word rare in tier 3 because endangered, whatever the next word is. I was a natural resource planning major.
I don't know.
Endangered, threatened,
Yeah.
but then there's rare.
Right.
And it's like, what do we mean?
In
It's
the
like-
reality of being on the tier 3,
Yeah.
the only concerning resource
Mhm.
is the habitat connector. And
Yeah.
we'll show you why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Because it literally covers where we've invested money on roads where people
Right.
live.
Yeah,
The others are actually serving what we believe is the purpose of tier
I
3.
got you.
yeah,
That one seems to
we're not,
Yeah.
have a weird,
Yeah.
really weird, relationship to the road rule.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna show you now. So see, we've been calling these the fried egg. So like the kind of transparent yellow with like an opaque yellow in the middle,
It's like a Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, yeah. I know
This,
it's a-
like a Dr. Seuss egg. So this is what's called the habitat connector. And it's showing you two distances which are under discussion by the LURB. One is 800 feet and one is 2,000 feet. And then what the habitat connector does is on this slide. So the road rule applies Act 250 jurisdiction to new development that happens 800 feet from an existing road. The habitat connector, which is intended to protect migrating plants and animals in our most important forest lots, is applied to roads where the majority of land on both sides of the road has tree canopy. So this could be conserved land, it could be private land, it could be undeveloped or developed. It could have roads and driveways on it. But if it's a mostly wooded lot on both sides of the road, it becomes a habitat connector where Act 250 jurisdiction would apply. So if I go back to the big map of Pittsford, if you look in the top right corner, that is Sugar Hollow Road. It is a very old, well-developed part of Pittsburgh, an existing residential neighborhood, and that's a class 2 town highway. That is a town road. And then you go here and we zoom in on it, and you can see the compression where this creates an overlapping or abutting Act 250 jurisdiction, where you have the road rule protecting the forest block on the outside, and then the habitat connector protecting the road in the middle.
And what happens now on a road like this?
Is this a dirt road?
They're in 510.
I think it's both.
Okay.
There's
So,
no,
but this would take a new oversight for them.
absolutely.
Yes.
If,
For
for
any-
example,
Remember
Anything, all the
ADU,
garages and the.
sugar shack
Yeah,
garage.
yeah.
those little
So new-
carve outs are
right.
existing homes,
Right.
properties
Yeah.
where they, sort of mapped, here's the property that has the buffer that we would allow, that's not forested,
Right.
So it's rather dramatic
Yeah.
jurisdiction.
And so I'm just trying to make sure I fully understand. If they are, let's just say the municipality said, okay, but we'll take over, like, right, like there's people in different towns are used to whether or not they can just build something in their backyard and the municipality cares or not.
Right.
This would also, let's say the municipality was doing the oversight of this, then they have to create new permits to comply with Act 250.
To coordinate.
Not necessarily. If it was a town that had no planning and zoning in one of these areas, someone
You
could
could
just put
go-
a second home, but it
Oh.
would trigger Act 250.
So help.
So-
Where it currently wouldn't.
Yeah.
So let's not spend too much
Yeah.
time on this because sadly this isn't
Right.
technically at the moment in our
Right.
jurisdiction. We certainly want to.
So-
hit on
Okay.
it.
This
But also
this
just-
spot isn't the only area. The town of Moortown, every one of their
Again,
roads,
every town is going to have this challenge.
yes, including state highways.
Yes.
But this has a relationship to tier 1.
Okay, but wait, just before
Okay.
we leave that slide. Are there huge forest parcels on either side of that road?
No, you can see very clearly when you zoom in. These are existing
So the road you
subdivided.
showed it.
Yeah,
that
these-
Look at all
So
those
it
homes.
looks like
This
there's
is
something
subdivided.
undeveloped on either side.
No, this is subdivided small acre parcels with houses.
So it's
Yeah.
already zoned for what?
This is zoned,
Low density
if we
residential.
go back to here,
It's
this
zoned-
is zoned for rural general,
Yeah.
low density residential.
Exactly.
Well, we that's a chicken.
Okay. So let's keep moving because we have 7 more minutes.
Okay, I just have to show you Moortown.
Yeah.
This would apply Act 250 jurisdiction to the majority of class 2 highways in Moortown. Between Route 100, a state highway, and 89. So Moortown town officials have raised alarm about this. and rightfully so. This would apply Act 250 jurisdiction to single family and to improvements and the creation of single family homes on basically every school bus route on the way to Harvard Union High School.
Including
So
Route 100.
including Route 100 and 108. We just cannot accept this. This is in direct conflict with smart growth principles. This area represents quite literally hundreds of millions of dollars of public investment over time.
And they're saying that this was our intent.
They are interpreting the statutory criteria of tier 3
Yeah,
to apply in this way.
right. Because I just want to make sure Senator Clarkson
Yeah.
knows, like, my entire effort to try and get our committees to do joint hearings and to hear all this information is to look back at the intent of our two major bills in this area, particularly Act 181, and to underscore what our intent was or was not.
Right.
Yeah.
And we
also-
have to do that work together.
And underscore our intent to actually, I know Thomas, right after it, to do thoughtful development in smart, to go back to Sam's word, in smart growth areas that we all can agree are the areas we want
Right.
to invest in development.
Which, by the way, I don't know what the water and sewer is on this in these areas, but another part of my bill is going back to the Home Act to say, we did mean where you're along a road with water and sewer, you can do quadplexes and municipal development.
Which we did that.
Okay,
Right, and
Yeah.
then exactly this negates that also.
Thomas.
Thank you for this testimony. I completely agree and I share your concern. I hear you raising the alarm bells about the actual implementation of Act 181. I strongly implore you to have this debate and discussion with as much time as humanly possible with Senate Natural Resources. I think you're talking to the choir in many
Yeah.
ways right here, and the real impact's going to be on that committee.
But we still need to understand.
Sure.
I think everybody needs to understand because everybody is assuming something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying. All in part is that I think we assume different things and what is being.
We have been
drafted-
dramatically surprised how little our communities know about tier 3 and the impact. As soon as we tell them, they are alarmed. And we've had several workshops and they're like, what?
And
Who's
while
gonna
they're
tell
going
me
through
this?
Yeah.
literally hundreds of meetings, hundreds of public meetings
Right.
statewide on creating a shared vision for growth and new housing creation
Yeah.
with the RPCs,
Right.
Mhm.
right? So here we are. Okay,
RPCs aren't doing that tier 3,
right.
so they're not talking about it.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
That's the point we're trying to make.
Right, right.
okay. So here we are. I've been climbing up the hill, right, to get to 1B.
Okay.
So you can see that tier 3, tier 2 and the road rule are going to apply sweeping new jurisdiction for the regulation of development in the vast majority of Vermont communities. Because remember, 100 don't have zoning. 73% of our communities are population under 3,000.
Right.
Most communities in Vermont will not get a shot at relief from Act 250 in a tier 1A area. So for us, it comes down to 1B. 1B is the place where we can realize the opportunity of all the programs you work on in here, like VHIP and downtown tax credits and brownfield redevelopment and revitalization and many more. So 1B is precious. It's a precious opportunity to our towns to meet their housing targets, which the state has adopted. So currently the eligible area, this is from testimony you heard a week or two ago from BACTA. The estimated eligible area in for 1B or 1A statewide in the draft maps is 2.1% of the state land area.
Right.
It's important to know that that varies wildly from region to region. So the whole NEK may see only 0.5% eligible for 1B. Chittenden County is carrying the load with 11% of all Chittenden County is eligible. The Rutland RPC, remember they're first in line, that's why I use Pittsford. They initially mapped and requested tier 1 eligible area for 3% of Rutland County. across 27 towns, 3% altogether. As a result of the ongoing approval process with the LURB and the comments provided to Rutland RPC from the LURB, there was a 30% reduction in that eligible area. Only one town, I know your bill would change opt-in to opt-out. I'm
Not our bill, and not that piece
Okay.
at the bone is not in our
Okay,
bill, it's
okay.
back at that.
Okay. Opt-in, opt-out, fine. We're fine with that because clearly the vast majority of towns with any eligible area are choosing to opt in. In Rutland County, one town opted out and it was for local capacity reasons. They cannot currently administer the permit. So they opted out. There's 25 other towns in Rutland with eligible area, they all opted in. So
Only one opted out?
only one has not opted in yet. They have an administrative issue. So in the 3 maps, I just want to underscore this is also very premature.
Yeah.
Like each town is having to warn a meeting and hold the meeting and draft a resolution and pass the resolution. And they, of course, would wait to do that until they saw their map.
Right.
Like it would be crazy to say, yeah, we're gonna 1, 2, 3, release it. But like, we don't know what we're releasing from what until we see the map. But there's 3 that I think we have a really good idea of how it's going. And amongst those 3 counties, there's a roughly 85% opt-in rate.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different reasons.
Right.
There's totally different locally informed reasons amongst the towns that are not currently opting in.
I just want to say, like the opt-in, opt-out fight feels a little bit like it does. I just want to reward our champions who are opting in. Like, I don't need to tell people
Totally
like
agree.
right now.
Yeah.
So if we could just be figuring out a way to reward people who opt in.
Yeah. And maybe not reduce their eligible area by.
Correct.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, not also make their
Because that's the flaw in the slaw that we see.
yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you where the flaw in the slaw is.
Yeah.
And it's right here. If I highlight
Yeah,
it-
and unfortunately, we should have done this for an hour, but we're gonna go
It's
to
okay.
a quarter of, and give you 5 more minutes,
This
then
is
we'll
like
have you.
one of
come
the more.
This is the most,
presentations
I agree,
Yeah,
I agree.
I
We have a time essentially this one,
Can you read that if it's like that?
we have it in front of us.
Okay, great. So this is Act 181. I just copied and pasted. I didn't change anything. So Act 181 where it creates Tier 1B, that happens in Title 10. Title 10, 6033. And it says to obtain Tier 1B status under this section, the Regional Planning Commission shall demonstrate to the board, the LURB, that the municipalities with Tier 1B areas meet the following requirements. This is the flaw in the slaw, as included in subdivision 24 VSA, etc. That subdivision is linked in the PDF you have. It is the statutory criteria for village area, and it is duplicated in the criteria listed below in the subsection of 156, which are like has water and sewer, has a duly adopted municipal plan, has certain statutory standards for permanent bylaw in the floodplain and flood hazard zone, and has municipal capacity to administer zoning permits. It also describes other things in Title 24, such as generally walkable, interior street grid, places of civic importance, historic preservation sites, consistency with historic preservation sites. So what has happened is this funnel. So you have Act 181 describes Tier 1B broadly as being places with infrastructure and a plan to grow. Then the RPCs have interpreted that as being places that meet certain Title 24 criteria for growth centers. And then you have them presenting that map of what they see. These areas meet these Title 24 criteria for growth. And then the LURB is saying, no, not quite. They're having an even more conservative interpretation of the Title 24 criteria.
So in simplest terms, what we're saying is 1B areas were created for communities that have planned for growth, have the capacity to grow, they don't have to have already been an historic center. But the way this is being funneled down and interpreted, it's saying, oh, did you have an historic center designation through DHCD from the past? No,
Yeah.
you don't. So now you're not eligible for tier one.
That's basically
That's
it.
basically the concern. We're
A huge concern.
I'm gonna give you some very, what's that word that's illustrated? It's a like
Illustrative.
illustrative. Thank you. So in Shelburne, they requested more than one center.
Mhm.
One is sort of
Mm-hmm.
southwest.
We just went to a meeting about it
Yeah.
2 nights ago.
So
Very
so the LURP said, well, your first one, that meets the definition of a center because of these reasons. Your second one doesn't really meet the definition of a center because it includes a mobile home park and a large fenced in area that is not always open to the public. Can anyone think of a large fenced in area in Shelburne that you've been to before?
Might
No,
that be
we're
Wake Robin?
there.
Is it
It's in
Wake?
Shelburne.
That's where
Museum.
we were for the meeting.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
either Wake Robin or the Shelburne Museum.
It's the Shelburne.
But
Museum.
there are a lot of fenced in areas
It's
in
a
Shelburne that
Shelburne
are very large.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's nuts.
there's another example. So Burlington, the city of Burlington also requested more than one center. Some of them were approved. One was sent back.
Wait, which one did you say?
Burlington, the city of Burlington.
I'm trying to get out of Chittenden County. for
Okay, well, great.
But
And
no, I hear you.
This has been done
We have
earlier than some
Connor,
of the others.
South Burlington.
So this,
It's true.
so the one that was provided recommendations and not approved, not seen to meet the standard is Cambrian Rise. The largest neighborhood ever built in the history of Vermont.
Correct.
I've heard,
Housing, senior housing.
yeah, largest
Affordable
affordable
housing.
housing development in 30 years.
Right.
And I heard speculation, no one knew the tallest building. It's currently City Place. It's about to be the new CHU building at Cambrian
But I'm still curious
by a couple feet.
if Rutland is on higher ground.
So
I
we-
think it sticks
We don't
up.
measure the ground.
I know.
I know,
So
it's
I'm
because of the
just trying to
story.
give
We
Rutland
measure
something
it-
for people to
We
go
measure
look
the
at.
distance bricks.
Yeah.
But the radio tower is the tallest thing.
The radio.
Hey, you might want to go to Killington.
There's a,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example from Rutland County. So Pulteney.
So let me just interrupt right here.
Yeah.
We're gonna go till 10 with you.
Awesome.
And we have a time sensitive thing,
Cool.
which is why we had scheduled the other,
Thank
the
you so much.
resolution. So instead we'll go to 10 and we'll just.
Okay, well, I'll calm down.
I might leave at five,
Oh, yeah.
another testimony at 10. But, you know, so the heart of what we're trying to get at is if the intent of this was to, allow areas that have planned for growth to grow, why are we basing on who already had an historic center with an historic neighborhood and those characteristics as being the only places we're saying you can grow?
We're not. But that's what, I mean,
Yeah.
that they would be
Right.
greenlit, we hope, and expanded with the neighborhood designation.
That's what,
And then we might have other places that
Our
might,
intent is completely out of alignment, I think, with
Yeah.
what is happening at the Burger.
Thank you.
I think that's.
and
We
a-
need to fix it.
and it's out of alignment with the goals of our citizen planners
Yeah.
and our elected
Yeah.
officials on the select board
Yeah.
and the voters who have authorized public money to go to expanding water and sewer, to accepting planning grants, to upzoning for density and capacity.
And just plain common sense.
Sure.
Out of alignment.
Well, yeah, so
We need to hear it all.
you know, we're here to speak on behalf of our members. Since 2020, the top reported concern of municipal officials in our annual surveys has been the availability and affordability of housing.
Yes, we're clear on that.
So
But it bears constant reminder
Yeah,
that
don't know.
we can't let things happen that derail from what we say we are hearing.
Even if it's yes,
can
agree.
I tell, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I want to
Thomas.
talk about Pulteney for a second. So they had a very big reduction in their eligible area. They have opted in for 1B. So Pulteney has a existing center. It was a downtown center, right? But
Yeah.
it's a village,
That's a
Pulteney
village.
Village.
Right outside the school.
So
Yep.
they had the highest designation formerly. And then together with the RPC, they basically mapped like a donut or like a concentric ring where they had their existing center in the village, a planned growth area, which is all serviced by public infrastructure around that. And then they had these spurs of what they had mapped as village area that went along the major transportation and existing residential corridors that go into the old village. And so they mapped those as their village area as like, think about when a kid draws a sun, that's what it looks like in Pulteney. And the response that they received was, and they went farther than that, and they really worked with the RPC to enhance and improve their local code. So they had said, from now on in these village area spurs, any development that happens will receive an extension of public services, utilities, and will receive public investment in sidewalks on both sides and curbing and all the things that will make these areas look just like the downtown that we've been able to invest in with the state all these years. And when they took that to the LURB said, no, that's a plan for a village area. That's not a village area. It doesn't look like that now. It doesn't currently have public utilities to every parcel. It doesn't currently have sidewalks on both sides. So that's not a village area. So they did not receive the relief from Act 250 exemption for housing there. And they had to significantly reduce what was eligible for 1B. Even though this is a 1B ready community,
This
so
is
ready to rock and
perfect
roll.
1B proposal.
Yeah.
Yes, this is why we're
I'm very concerned about the expansive view the LURB is taking on their charge. I feel that everything I'm hearing is they're seeing their role as to preserve Vermont as a nature preserve for future generations and not to facilitate and foster human habitat in the way that we wanted this bill to do it. Do you see other parameters around ways to rein in and focus and give guardrails so they have less of an expansive interpretation and much more of a narrower focus?
So I will say they were granted broad authority under Act 91. They were created and the law provides them with nearly singular authority over the future of Vermont's land use. Act 21 itself, to be fair, is not super deferential to municipal process. That said, certainly it may be appropriate to provide more clearly articulated guardrails. Did we ever mean to say you have to meet the current statutory definition of a village area to be 1B eligible? Like, that's a question that the legislature should answer, I think.
Yeah.
But what we're asking for that feels, remember, there's so many people involved. The LURB is working really hard. Our RPCs are breaking their necks. Hundreds of community meetings have happened. Planning commission, select boards. So what we recommend, what we see as a balanced, totally logical approach is right now hit pause. Let the planning happen, let the LURB process continue, have them come back in and show it to you. It shouldn't be me, right?
Right.
And I take it, I take it VLCT has waited with them and asked for this.
Constant.
And now it's in our court during our time in the
Well, they
legislature.
can't pause the implementation.
They can't do
Yeah.
most of what we're
Until
asking.
we give them permission.
Exactly.
Right.
Which
No,
is-
I'm clear on
Which
that. but
these asks are represented in the rural caucus bill.
Yeah.
Right. And the rule call.
Not quite the extension we want. We want
What is that
farther.
bill number?
H730.
H730.
H730, it was just, again, it's been introduced and it's
And
there.
who's the lead sponsor?
Laura Sibilia.
Laura, it's the three chairs, Laura, Sibilia, Lisa Hugo, and Monique Priestley.
I think there's about 30 sponsors or 30, 40 sponsors.
David.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by any of this. This is the perfect
I'm gonna-
illustration of the tension between economic development and rural
Yeah.
natural resources. It's been going on for, more than 50 years. And I think it's time to set boundaries.
I will say the governor was in charge of who was appointed to the LURB. I'm just gonna say that out loud. I think it's really important that we talk about our intent on the record because it is being used all over the state, all over the judiciary about what our intent was. And the main reason for my bill S305 was because I'm getting asked to explain our intent around the state. And I had to stop doing that to not overstep my legislative authority.
Which is why we're asking for it, because we gave up that piece because it's their jurisdiction, but to go to David's point and Tom's point and Keisha's, it's a joint it had joint implications on
Yeah.
both economic development and our
Yeah.
natural
You-
resources. And we definitely have to take action this year. We're gonna have joint hearings on this and other pieces. Thank you
Yeah.
for this. This is really
Thanks
helpful.
for giving us the time. I mean, we
Yeah.
run
Yeah,
into
we'll
this
have more time,
challenge
too.
Yeah.
every time we talk about housing, whether it's upstairs in House General or here. We don't have the ability to separate state land use from local land use.
Yeah.
Municipalities, it's land use.
Yeah.
Some don't have any local land use. It is Act 250. And so when we talk about housing at the municipal level, it's all land use.
Right.
That's all we have. So it's really hard to separate these discussions and think that they happen outside of working together.
Well, and
And
I
same,
think,
yeah, same thing with the work the RPCs are doing. They're correct. Like their instruction is clear. Go do this. And that's what they're doing, which is tier 1.
Mhm.
And then the instruction to the LURB is clear. Go do this. Map Vermont's most natural resources. There's 11 of them, I think, enumerated in the tier 3 section of Act 181. And that's what they're doing. But for our members, for our communities, for our home builders, for our current property owners who want to age and invest in the community they live in, they can't pick and choose. They're being put in one of these places, right? Like they will be subject to Act 250 jurisdiction or not based on these decisions, which are not happening in concert.
yeah, and before going to Keisha, I think your illustrations are really great examples and stark illustrations of these two values butting heads. And that just wasn't the intent. The intent was to have thoughtful review of where we want our town to grow. Pulteney weighed in on that.
Yeah.
What's discouraging to me is we pushed it to on the ground, thoughtful review of where do we want to be in 50 years and where do we want to grow? Where do we want to develop? I'm very discouraged to hear that particular example. And I think it's a sort of, as you say, more time too illustrative of some of the challenges we need to, of the opportunities to fix it this year. Keisha.
Oh, sorry.
Keisha,
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
you better.
Between us and natural resources, when we wrote Act 181, we put significant language in about environmental justice being a big part of what the LURB focuses on. I was very worried, and I said that in committee to them, that they needed to define what we meant by environment. Like we defined it, and it's in the law, but that they could not use it to congest certain areas and constrain other areas. And I'm very concerned about, I presented to them on environmental justice with Carla Raimondi. I don't know if they ever said those words again after that presentation. That was
We
a
have
year
heard
ago.
from our members that are rural, working class, rural, low, moderate income, they own property, that are very concerned about their equity in this and
Yeah.
how they find themselves in this state
Mhm.
and passing on land to their family members to build a home, the value of their properties, the taxes, they're very concerned and do not believe that this represents sort of economic justice for
Right.
rural working
that's-
Vermonters. Vermonters who rule that are, have wealth and aren't spared by an Act 250 permit, or maybe they're okay, but the ones that maybe aren't ready with the engineer on speed dial and an attorney to make sure they can put up their garage or add an ADU for their, new daughter and granddaughter are very concerned about
Yeah,
economic.
no,
It is knowable. Like we know who is a homeowner and what their incomes are and how many people live in those homes now in these rural communities that could be subjected to both the rural and tier 3. Like we know that the average household income in Rutland County is around $60,000. We know that the average saving from Act 250 permit exemption is around $50,000 is what you save in permit fees when you're exempt from Act 250. So this is knowable, and there's absolutely a totally sincere
Mhm.
economic justice concern
Yeah.
that could be a downstream. And the thing is, after it goes into effect and after the property values change, that doesn't happen until these properties change hands or fail to get a permit or have to amend their development plan. That would take 10 years maybe to see on the grand list, right? But all the while, those Vermonters would be experiencing those barriers to sort of fulfilling their own pursuit of happiness in that community.
I know we're wrapping up. VLCT has a tremendously respected and important voice in the State House. I hope you keep speaking this to anybody that will listen. We need to hear this.
We're going
Everybody
to
in
do
this
joint
building needs to
hearing.
hear this.
Yeah.
And I've taken a lot of notes to send to our chairs.
Because this is one of the, I assume it'd be part of one of our.
Yeah.
joint
Right,
efforts.
yep. I'm gonna go to another test. Thank you.
Okay, so
We're
we're,
going to talk about transportation investment.
oh, good,
Really?
well.
Yeah.
David, did you have another thought?
No, I got you. Sounds more into that concept.
Right.
Right.
Rubbish. John Morley will be back. Thank you, John.
Thank you for the-
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the time. Thank you so much.
Oh, no,
Action.
more to
Thank you.
follow. Thank you very much. And great illustrations of the challenge.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
They're the LURPS maps.
Right, I know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Great, thank you, guys.
Great. John Morley will be back any moment because we asked them to, we're gonna do the resolution at 10. So, that our time is compressed, as you all know, so we happily rearranged things a little bit because that was important to hear. David, thank you for reviewing this. And I see you working on the resolution, so thank you for that. Just as we go into this, Michael, I'm gonna let John tee it up and then let you start.
Play back to the line by line, sure.
Well, we don't need to. Yeah,
Whatever you want.
I think they're just sort of big.
However you want it done,
We
I'm
have
happy to.
about 20 minutes.
You
and
intend
so-
to vote today?
Well, that is what I understand we're under some time pressure because of the Olympics starting. That's my understanding. The reason we're doing this today and fit it in is the time pressure we have.
There's still.
Tuesday, this is.
We're voting Tuesday. Right? Tuesday at 9:30.
This still has to go, if the Senate, if you pass it out, of course, and if the Senate decides to adopt it, it still would need to go to the House.
Right, which is why we have to, which is why we were asked by the powers that be to take it up. So we're making time for it. Now we're needing Morley.
I know, I can go looking for it if you want.
No, I wouldn't bother. He's very timely and he will be here any sec.
Who?
John Moore.
John
Senator.
Morley. So,
Can we just read it?
yeah, let's take a peek at it. It's right in front of you.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, I get part of it. I don't,
I'm glad you went like, wait,
So
you didn't mean that.
I think the major ask is that they're asking for gender equality in the Nordic combined. Evidently, the Olympics allows for it for men, but not for women. Have you seen Morley, Thomas?
Would you like me to go look for him?
He's in human, well,
or,
here he is, right there. Thank you, John. The chair is yours.
And it's 9:59, that clock is fast.
It's 10 now. So, Molly, good. Welcome, John. It's
Morning.
good to have you.
That's
Your
what
first
we
time
appreciate it.
presenting in this committee. So,
Yeah.
welcome.
But-
Could you come and tell us why this is so important to you at this moment and why we need to move on it?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Senator John Moore from Orleans District. First, I want to visit this room. Your room.
this is where it all happens.
This is where it all, it's all
Oh, this is where a
at.
lot happens.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And so this resolution, so what I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is kind of just go through the highlights of the resolution.
Well, and tell us how you got involved in the first place and why it's so important.
Yep, exactly. And then in the end, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go through why I think it's really critical and how it's important to me.
Yes.
So in this resolution, Nordic combines a challenging winter sport, obviously requiring competitors to prove their skills as both Nordic skiers and alpine ski jumpers. Whereas the proud century of Nordic combined competition in the Winter Olympics has been tarnished due to its exclusion of women. Women, whereas have exhibited outstanding Nordic combined performances in Olympic competition, non-Olympic competition, and among the premier women's Nordic combined competitors is Vermont's Tara Garrity Bowes. who has earned national and international recognition. And if you folks don't know who she is, you should go online and take a look at her. Very, very impressive individual. And I'm going to skip down a couple more, whereas ironically, although the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, recently welcomed the political declaration adopted unanimously by the 69th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, reaffirming the importance of sport as a vehicle for gender equality, continued this exclusionary policy for the 2026 Winter Olympics. Whereas beyond 2026 Nordic Combined Winter Olympic competition may be imperiled, as the IOC may decide to eliminate the sport entirely as a way to end this embarrassing gender exclusion controversy. Those are kind of the important ones for me that are in this resolution. And what I would like to say is I raised two young daughters, and they were in a pretty tough sport. They were in ice hockey. And we played in Canada, just across the border. I'm on the Canadian border. And our home rink was Stansted. And they started boys and girls together, and it worked really, really, really well. But there becomes a certain limit, which everyone understands, where checking then came into the sport, and then women played in women's leagues and boys leagues. And but they had always had access to the rinks. Then when they got to high school, they played in the high school athletics and ice hockey, which I thought was awesome. And then in college. And then obviously you have ice hockey in the Olympics for women as well. This one here, and so I'm biased because I have two beautiful, wonderful daughters. And so when I see things like this, it's bothering.
You're not biased. You're a good human.
Thank you very much.
But
Senator.
how did this particular competition come? Why are you championing it? Do you represent Tara?
No,
What prompted you to do this?
just out of discussion. If you look, I said, if you look at her bio and you look at what she's been able to do, and she's not able to compete on the highest stage in the world.
Right. No, I appreciate your concern, but you don't represent her. This is just general concern for women.
Correct.
Having equity in.
All
Olympic
women, not
competition.
not just Tara,
Yeah.
but all of
We get it.
women. And so it was support.
Terrific. David.
So I'm still trying to figure out what's really being asked for here. So correct me if I'm wrong. In Nordic combined Olympic competition, there is no women's
So
event.
Right.
Correct. And we're just sending out a signal that we disagree with the
support.
competition.
We're sending it to the IOC.
And that's it.
Yeah.
that's it.
That's all that's being asked about.
Are there any other sports that are,
No, I'm aware of the
No,
Olympics.
everything else.
Zero.
everything else?
The only suggestion I might have is that we take the opportunity with this to know all of the women Vermonters who won medals in the recent years. We had a surprise bronze medalist whose brother was in our wedding and is a CBU grad. She became a surprise bronze medalist last time in the ski jump. But like we've had some wonderful Vermont women win lots of medals in the Winter Olympics.
We have. Actually, I thought where you were going is the only thing I'd like to see added is that we would an additional resolve that any future additional competitions that are added that we would ask that the IOC include all genders be included in any additional competition going forward.
I have no problem with that.
So I'd like to add a whereas for honoring the women of Vermont who won medals.
Right.
I don't know
Winter
if
and
people want
summer
to
or specifically
winter. And I don't know if we
We're
want to put a
focusing
time
on
frame on it, but winter.
And the time frame is before the Olympics start.
Correct.
That's to go to the House. The reason we're taking this up for the public who don't know this is any substantive resolution comes to the committee of jurisdiction and then gets passed out. So we're treating it like a bill.
Yep.
And it is, so we address it, we pass it, it will go to the House now if we pass it. But so we have two additions, Michael.
What about for the Vermont Winter?
That we want
The
to,
second one though is, in other words, you want further that no additional sports ever
be added.
added in this manner.
Right, correct. Or no, not in this manner, but
I mean,
any additional competition that's added with the IOC, have both
Just
genders.
beyond Nordic.
Yes,
Okay, I give you,
but any additional
any additional sport,
competition
any
being-
Olympic sport, yeah, be gender equal.
gender equitable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John?
What-
Thank you for bringing this to
No
us.
problem.
Particularly in the winter sports.
Yep.
Vermont is very well represented
Very, very
and has triumphed in ways we're all extremely proud. And so really appreciate you bringing this to us now. And the economic impact, we cannot go without saying, because Molly's in the room, so I'm gonna just make sure the economic impact of
Huge.
our winter sporting events in this state. The competition when it's at Killington, the World Cup.
Yep.
It's incredible, the Women's World Cup, what that does for our region. David and I can attest to that.
And JP and Burger.
And Pekenberg, anytime we have a major competition, this is a huge economic development for our state. So, we will hope to have more, and we are grateful to you for bringing this to us. Thank you. And with that, I would ask the clerk to call the roll on this resolution.
Oh, don't we have to see these?
With those
I haven't
additions.
even written these yet.
Okay.
Those
And that's a really
Then we will do
bad,
this next week. Sorry.
Time pressure on
If
this.
you would be kind enough to have these drafted for us for Tuesday, so we could look at
fine.
this
You should
Tuesday.
never
and
go
talk
on
about-
clauses that I haven't written yet.
Well, you know,
Really dangerous.
life is short. Who
Not
knows?
not that short.
You're with us Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if we could have it Tuesday for us
That's easy.
to review. Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
And then
Madam Chair.
clerk will be ready to call. Thank you. We're going to take a break. We're going to begin again at 15 with the act prohibiting surveillance pricing, which is interesting. So do a 5-minute break.